Last week, I told you that more and more Republicans are just quitting politics in the Trump era. Some don't want to be Republicans under Trump. Some are worried that they're going to lose their reelections and want to retire and save some face, even in historically pretty reliably red districts. And last week, I told you about a few of them. We had Republican Congressman Mike Conaway. I told you about Paul Mitchell, who's bailing, Pete Olson, Martha Roby, Rob Bishop, Republican members of Congress. I've already spoken previously about Senator Jeff Flake. Senator Jeff Flake was a Republican from the state of Arizona. He ended up bailing pretty clearly because of disgust with the Republican Party under Donald Trump. That was a seat Democrats were able to take. Kyrsten Sinema ultimately won Jeff Flake's seat. So this stuff matters, and there's now two more, okay? Congressman Kenny Marchant is saying bye-bye and quitting. This is in Texas. And this one matters sort of extra because this is the Dallas area, the 24th congressional district. Democrats have done better and better in recent election cycles. There were some pre-2018 election cycles where Democrats got between 32 and 37-ish% of the vote in the 24th district. In 2018, it was closer than it had been in a really long time. Jan McDowell, the Democratic challenger, received 47% of the vote, barely losing to the Republican Kenny Marchant. So that's a great district for Democrats to target. Democrats are targeting it. This is not an out-of-reach district that will obviously go to a Republican. That's really good news. We then also learned a few days ago that Will Hurd, H-U-R-D, also from Texas, is quitting. He will not be seeking re-election. His district is a border district. He also won re-election by fewer than 5 points in 2018. And in that district, it worked out to just a few hundred votes based on voter turnout. So that's another district that will be open and will be in play for Democrats in 2020. So there are now 12 Republicans who are not running for re-election in 2020. This is very good for Democrats. Incumbent Republicans are much more likely to be helped by a Republican president running for re-election. That's Trump in 2020. Open seats are more likely to be fights when you have two new challengers or candidates, I guess we would call them. The Senate reality remains that it's very unlikely Democrats are going to take the Senate in 2020. I got some interesting emails. So I've been saying for months now, as you may know or you may not know, and that's okay, there are 100 senators and a third of them are up for re-election every 2 years since they are 6-year terms. It just so happens that the slate of senators up for re-election in 2020 is not favorable to Democrats. I don't really see a path for Democrats to take the Senate in 2020. Last week, I asked for people to write in if you thought there is a way for Democrats to take the Senate. And I got a couple of emails from people talking about, well, if Doug Jones is able to retain his seat in Alabama and then in Colorado, the election goes one way. And a couple of people put together scenarios, but they are definitely uphill battles. But if in the House we see an expanded Democratic majority in 2018, thanks in part to some of these Republicans quitting, a bigger House majority sets up Democrats to be better positioned in 2022 for the Senate showdown, where Democrats actually could retake control of the Senate, which of course would be massive. If Trump is removed in 2020, Democrats expand control of the House in 2020, and then take control in 2022, that period between January of 2023 and January of 2025 could be massive in terms of actual possible advancements for the progressive left in the United States. That's why this stuff matters. This is why midterms matter. Republicans are now on the defensive after losing the House in 2018. They're in danger of falling even further behind. They are now potentially endangering their Senate majority just 2 years later. And Texas is increasingly a target, no longer solid red, but we've got to run these elections correctly, every single one. Now, I will have more detailed reports for you about particular districts to target. We actually are starting to line up some interviews with some interesting district level races, House races for 2020. I'll be talking about what you can do as we get closer to 2020 for maximum impact, focusing not on really safe blue districts, but on the ones that we might be able to take from Republicans. And we will also be talking about this extensively in the context of Democrats have to get it together at the local politics level. I've been talking about this for years. Democrats just aren't good at a lot of things. One is local grassroots races, state legislatures, state senates, as an example. We will be talking about that because that matters as well. It's not just representatives in Washington that determine the political slant of the country and within states, but it's what's happening in state legislatures as well. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk more broadly about continuing to talk about the other areas that really impact this: gerrymandering and districting, and that relates to the census, voter suppression, so on and so on. You probably know all of that. One of the things I would love to talk about tonight during my live stream on Twitch at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, which I hope you'll join me for, are specific races that you're paying attention to. Okay, so I hope you'll join me this evening, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/David Pakman. Make sure you're following me there. Make sure if you have Amazon Prime that you sign up for free with Twitch Prime. We get paid. It costs you nothing. And I'll meet you there at 6:30 p.m. Eastern this evening.